What if one wrong turn after a grueling day could thrust you into a heart-stopping nightmare, forcing you to save a life and unknowingly intertwine your destiny with a dangerous secret? The damp streets of downtown New York City shimmered under the hazy glow of streetlights. Lily Carter dragged her weary feet after another exhausting double shift at the city hospital. Her worn sneakers squelched in puddles as her mind reeled with the mountain of bills waiting for her back home. At 28, being a nurse was all she'd ever wanted. But the endless shifts and meager salary barely kept her small apartment, shared with her cat Misha, afloat. The clock read 11:40 p.m. when she decided to take her usual shortcut through the alley, the one that connected directly to her street. The rhythmic echo of her footsteps bounced off the narrow brick walls, blending with the constant drip of a broken pipe and the distant meow of a stray cat. That's when she heard it. A muffled groan, barely perceptible, coming from deeper within the alley's oppressive darkness. Her nurse's instinct immediately kicked in. Despite the fear that gnawed at her as she ventured further into the shadows, Lily pulled out her phone's flashlight and advanced cautiously. The beam of light revealed a sight that froze her blood. A man in a fine suit lay crumpled on the ground, a gaping, bleeding wound on his side. His expensive watch and designer clothes were a brutal contrast to the growing pool of blood beneath his body. Without a second thought, Lily knelt beside him. Her expert hands moved on instinct, pressing her own scarf against the wound, while she dialed emergency services with her other hand. The man, who seemed to be rapidly losing consciousness, had a face that surely graced business magazines. Refined features, perfectly styled hair, though now matted with sweat, and an expression of raw pain that made him seem strangely vulnerable. "Stay calm, sir. Help is on the way," Lily whispered, maintaining firm pressure on the wound. The man's eyes fluttered open for a moment, his dark gaze meeting hers. There was something in that look, a complex mix of gratitude and piercing curiosity, that made Lily's heart pound. Sirens began to wail faintly in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. Before the paramedics could whisk him away, the man's eyes flickered open again, as if he wanted to imprint his savior's face onto his memory. Lily stood there, in the grimy alley, watching the ambulance disappear into the night, utterly unaware that tonight, she hadn't just saved a life. She had irrevocably changed the course of her own story forever. What happens when the face you saved becomes a national headline, forcing you into a world of power and privilege you never imagined? Yet a nagging doubt whispers in your ear. The next morning erupted with the blare of news reports across every channel. Lily, who had barely managed a few hours of sleep, stood transfixed in front of the nurse's lounge television as the anchor recounted the events. Alexander Alex Sterling, CEO of Sterling Industries and one of the most influential real estate moguls in the country, was attacked last night in downtown New York City. Sources close to the family report he is stable, thanks to the timely intervention of a civilian who assisted him. The screen showed the gleaming facade of New York Memorial Hospital, where news helicopters captured the incessant movement of security guards and well-dressed individuals streaming in and out of the building. A chill ran down Lily's spine as she recognized the man in the photographs. It was the same one she had found in the alley. "Everything okay, Lil?" asked Brenda, one of her colleagues, noticing her dazed expression. "Yeah, it's just, I was the one who found him last night," Lily whispered, unable to tear her gaze from the screen. The news spread like wildfire through the hospital. Meanwhile, in the intensive care unit, Alex Sterling awoke with a single, burning thought. Find the woman who had saved his life. "Brenda, I need you to find her," he ordered David, his head of security, from his hospital bed. His voice, though weak, still held the authoritative tone that had built his empire. "The nurse from the alley. I want to know who she is." Just a few blocks away, Lily tried to focus on her patients, but the curious glances of her colleagues followed her down the hallways. Rumors about the massive reward Alex Sterling would offer were already circulating throughout the hospital. "Did you see how much money he has?" whispered Maria, one of the nursing assistants, showing her a business magazine on her phone. "His company built half of Manhattan." Lily looked at Alex's photo in the magazine. Impeccably dressed, surrounded by glass skyscrapers bearing his family name. It was difficult to reconcile that image with the vulnerable man she had found bleeding in the alley. At the end of her shift, as she put her things away in her locker, a man in a dark suit approached her. "Miss Carter? Mr. Sterling wishes to see you." Lily's stomach churned. She hadn't expected to be found so quickly, though for someone with so much power, perhaps she should have anticipated it. "Tell him I appreciate his interest, but it's not necessary," she replied, closing her locker with more force than needed. "He insists on thanking you personally," the man continued, extending a sleek card with the Sterling Industries logo. "The car is waiting outside." Lily finally agreed to get into the car, more out of courtesy than curiosity. The vehicle, a black Mercedes with tinted windows, transported her to New York Memorial Hospital, where Alex Sterling awaited her in a private suite on the top floor. She found him sitting in an armchair by the window, dressed in a hospital gown that couldn't quite conceal his elegant posture. Despite the pallor in his face, his powerful presence filled the room. "Finally, we meet under better circumstances," he said, trying to sit up, but a sharp pang of pain made him close his eyes tightly. "Please, don't get up," Lily responded, instinctively adopting her professional nursing tone. "Your wound still needs several days of rest." Alex smiled, a gesture that completely transformed his otherwise serious face. "You saved my life," he said bluntly, "and I want to compensate you for it." Before Lily could protest, he pulled an envelope from a nearby table. "This is just a small token of my gratitude." "I can't accept it," she replied immediately, without even looking at the envelope. "Anyone would have done the same." "You're wrong," he insisted, studying her with a curious intensity. "Most would have walked by, or worse, stolen my watch and wallet." Lily shifted uncomfortably under his intense gaze. There was something in his dark eyes that unsettled her, a perplexing mixture of authority and vulnerability. "Honestly, Mr. Sterling, I don't need any reward. I was just doing my duty as a healthcare professional." Alex let out a soft chuckle. "Please call me Alex, and at least let me take you to dinner when I get out of here." "I don't think that would be appropriate," she responded, instinctively stepping back towards the door. "Why not?" he asked, tilting his head slightly. "Are you afraid of me?" "It's not fear," she replied honestly. "It's caution. Our worlds are very different." "Perhaps," Alex conceded without trying to convince her. "But that doesn't change what I feel." Lily fell silent. It wasn't a grand declaration or a plea, just a simple, raw confession. Something in his sincerity unsettled her more than any argument. "I have to go," she murmured, turning towards the door. "We'll see each other again, Lily Carter," he declared with a certainty that made her shiver. And so it was. Over the next few weeks, Alex found ways to cross her path. Flowers sent to the hospital, invitations to charity events. He even casually appeared at the cafeteria where she usually had lunch. Each encounter made it harder for Lily to maintain the distance she had set for herself. There was something about him, a determination mixed with vulnerability, that began to break down her defenses, though a voice deep inside warned her to remain alert. What if the very act of saving a life unearths a dangerous truth, and a surprising connection between rescuer and rescued holds the key to a buried secret? Alex Sterling was recuperating in his sprawling penthouse overlooking Central Park, meticulously reviewing the security footage from the night of the attack for the 100th time. Something wasn't right. His assailant had known exactly where to find him, precisely how to bypass his usual routes and security protocols. "Sir," interrupted Marcus, his head of security, entering with a grim expression. "We've analyzed the recordings. The attacker systematically disabled the alley cameras before the incident. It wasn't random." "Someone from the inside?" Alex murmured, rubbing his temples, a headache brewing. "It has to be. Someone who knows our protocols, our blind spots." Meanwhile, Lily was grappling with her own doubts during her hospital shifts. Alex's visits had become increasingly frequent, and while a part of her felt a thrill at seeing him, another part couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. "Everything okay, doctor?" One of her elderly patients, Mr. Johnson, asked, noticing her distraction. Yes, Mr. Johnson, just thinking, she replied, adjusting his foredrip. Her thoughts drifted back to the previous night, when Alex had invited her to dinner at an exclusive, high-end restaurant. During the meal, she'd noticed how some diners looked at him with a strange mix of respect and fear. Conversations at neighboring tables would abruptly die down when he passed by. What kind of power did this man truly wield? Back in his sleek, glass-walled office on the 40th floor, Alex received a disturbing report. Shares are falling, his financial advisor informed him, his voice tight. Someone's selling off large quantities in secret, systematically. Uncle Robert? Alex questioned, thinking of his uncle, a long-standing member of the company's board of directors. We can't confirm it yet, but the movements are coming from accounts linked to the company's older, more obscure funds. Alex stood from his desk and walked to the panoramic window. From there, he could see the vast empire his family had built. Towering skyscrapers, sprawling commercial centers, exclusive residential developments. Everything his father had left him was now under a chilling threat. His phone vibrated. It was a message from Lily. Thanks for dinner last night, but I think we need to talk. Something in the message's tone unsettled him. Had she also noticed something strange, or was she simply putting distance between them? Find out everything about the Carter family, he ordered Marcus, his voice cold and determined. Especially about her father. There's something about this story that doesn't sit right with me. Meanwhile, Lily was finishing her shift at the hospital, completely unaware that her own suspicions were about to unravel into a revelation that would shake the very foundations of everything she thought she knew. Fate had intricately intertwined their lives in a way neither of them could have imagined, and the answers they desperately sought were buried in a past that would soon come violently to light. What if the hero who saved your life was unknowingly connected to the very betrayal that shattered your family, and a chilling truth lurked in the shadows of their shared past? In the small, cluttered living room of her apartment, Lily stared intently at an old photograph of her father. David Carter smiled at the camera, dressed in a simple suit, holding a folder of documents. The photo had been taken just days before his disappearance, 15 years ago. Your father was a brave man. Her Aunt Maria had told her just that afternoon, after Lily had mentioned the name Sterling. Too brave for his own good. With trembling hands, Lily opened the dusty box her aunt had given her. Inside, she found brittle old newspaper clippings, official-looking documents, and more faded photographs. A headline screamed out, instantly grabbing her attention. Accountant alleges irregularities at Sterling Industries. Vanishes days later. No, it can't be, she whispered, as the horrifying pieces began to click into place. The articles detailed how David Carter, chief accountant for Sterling Industries, had filed a formal complaint about financial irregularities. A week later, he simply vanished. The police had closed the case, concluding he had fled the country. Your mother never believed that version, Aunt Maria explained over the phone when Lily called her, distraught. She always knew he'd been forced to leave. The threats began almost immediately after he filed that complaint. Lily felt the air being sucked out of her lungs. Alex's sudden attention, his persistent invitations, his insistence on getting to know her. Had he known who she was all along? Her cell phone vibrated, startling her. It was a message from Alex. Dinner tonight. There's something important I want to tell you. The charming businessman's image in her mind twisted, distorted. How much did he know about her father's fate? Was he part of the same powerful network that had made him disappear? With grim determination, Lily shoved the damning documents into her purse. Tonight, she would get answers. The exclusive restaurant Alex had chosen was practically empty, echoing with hushed elegance. He waited for her at a private table, a warm, hopeful smile spreading across his face as he saw her arrive. But before he could utter a single word, Lily slammed the newspaper clippings onto the pristine white tablecloth. Did you know David Carter? She demanded directly, her voice trembling with suppressed rage, cutting through the silence like a knife. Alex's smile vanished. "Where did you get this?" he asked, his voice strained, his eyes wide with shock. "He was my father," she retorted, standing abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Did you know who I was all this time?" Alex stared at her in stunned silence, a look of profound guilt and confusion in his eyes. But Lily didn't wait for a response. She took a step back, feeling her breath catch in her throat, a wave of nausea washing over her. "I can't do this right now," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper, before turning and rushing out of the restaurant, ignoring Alex's desperate calls behind her. "Lily, wait!" Alex scrambled to his feet, trying to stop her. "It's not what you think. I was barely in college when this happened. There are things I don't know." "What did they do to my father?" she interrupted, hot tears of frustration streaming down her cheeks, blurring her vision. "I swear I'm going to investigate it," he promised, his voice filled with a raw, desperate sincerity that only confused her further. "Just give me time to uncover the truth." But Lily was already pulling away, leaving him alone with the ghosts of his family's dark past, and the crushing certainty that he had just lost the trust of the only person who truly mattered to him. What happens when the man who holds the key to your family's dark past fights to uncover the truth, and a dangerous conspiracy threatens to silence them both? The confrontation at the restaurant left Lily devastated. For the next few days, she buried herself in work at the hospital, deliberately ignoring Alex's insistent calls and messages. But the burning questions about her father wouldn't stop tormenting her, haunting her every waking moment. In his gleaming office on the 40th floor, Alex was in no better state. The newspaper clippings Lily had shown him, the raw accusations in her eyes, had revealed an uncomfortable truth about the empire he had inherited. He spent his nights poring over dusty old files, desperately searching for answers, for any shred of evidence that could explain his family's dark past. "I need all company records from 2005 onwards," he ordered Sarah, his trusted assistant, her voice tight with urgency, "especially anything related to the accounting department to David Carter." One afternoon, Lily finally, reluctantly, agreed to meet him at a discreet downtown coffee shop, far from prying eyes. Alex arrived first, dark circles under his eyes, a thick, old folder clutched under his arm. "I've been investigating," he began, barely waiting for her to sit down. "Your father discovered a money laundering scheme within the construction company. But it wasn't me, Lily. I didn't even know about any of this until now." "You expect me to believe that?" she retorted, her voice trembling, laced with an old, deep pain. "Your family destroyed mine. My uncle, Robert Sterling," Alex continued, pulling documents from the folder, spreading them across the small table. "He was handling the finances back then. I found suspicious transfers, all authorized by him, to offshore accounts." Lily's hands trembled as she took the papers. They were copies of multimillion-dollar transfers to offshore tax havens, all bearing Robert Sterling's unmistakable signature. "Your father discovered it," Alex explained, his voice grim, "and when he threatened to expose it, they made him disappear." Lily finished, the horrifying realization dawning on her, feeling her world crumble around her. "I need your help, Lily," Alex said, leaning forward, his gaze pleading. "Robert is still on the company board. If we can prove his involvement in your father's disappearance." "Why should I trust you?" she interrupted, though her voice had lost some of its initial harshness. "Because someone tried to kill me in that alley?" he responded, looking directly into her eyes, his own filled with a raw, desperate honesty. "And now I know why. I was starting to ask uncomfortable questions about the company's old finances, about these very transactions." Silence fell between them as Lily processed the chilling information. The pieces, horrifyingly, began to fit. The attack on Alex, her father's disappearance, the dark power Robert Sterling still wielded within the company. "If I help you," she finally said, her voice quiet, resigned, "it's for my father, not for you." Alex nodded, understanding that he had lost her trust, perhaps irrevocably, but clinging to the faint hope that it wouldn't be forever. That's all I ask. Together, we can uncover the truth. As they left the coffee shop, neither of them noticed the shadowy figure watching them from a parked car nearby, nor the urgent message he sent. Robert, we have a problem. Your nephew is talking to Carter's daughter. What happens when the truth you're desperately searching for reveals a deadly secret, and the powerful forces behind it will stop at nothing to keep it buried? Alex spent the next week buried deep in the company archives. Every document he unearthed revealed more chilling details about the intricate web of corruption his uncle had woven. One afternoon, while sifting through a forgotten box of old papers in the corporate basement, he found something that sent a jolt of ice through his veins. A handwritten letter from David Carter. If anything happens to me, the letter read, all evidence is stored in safety deposit box 247 at National Bank. Robert Sterling is siphoning millions to offshore accounts. I cannot continue to be complicit in this. With trembling hands, Alex immediately dialed Lily's number. I need to see you, he said, his voice urgent, strained. I found something about your father. They met at a small, discreet coffee shop, far from the city's bustling center. When Lily read the letter, tears began to stream down her cheeks. This is his handwriting, she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. He knew he was in danger. I'm going to confront Robert, Alex said, his fists clenching, determination hardening his jaw. This has to end. The confrontation with his uncle took place in the boardroom on the top floor. Robert Sterling, a man in his 60s with silver hair and an impeccably tailored suit, listened in chilling silence as Alex laid out his findings. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Robert finally responded, his voice cold as ice, a predatory glint in his eyes. This empire wasn't built by playing by the rules, Alex. Your father knew that, and he conveniently looked the other way. Where is David Carter? Alex demanded, his voice unwavering. Robert smiled with disdain, a cruel, knowing smirk. Some secrets are best left buried, nephew. I'm warning you one last time. Leave this in the past or you might live to regret it. Is that a threat or family advice? Alex shot back, a bitter laugh escaping him. The same advice I gave Carter before he decided to be a hero, Robert replied, slowly rising from his chair, his eyes cold and menacing. You still don't understand how this game works, boy. You can have proof, but I guarantee those proofs will disappear before they ever reach a courtroom. He turned to walk towards the door. You're not the first idealist to try and change things, nephew. Asked Carter. Oh right, you can't. When Alex told Lily about the conversation, a cold shiver ran down her spine. There has to be more evidence in that safety deposit box, she insisted. We need to access it. It's too dangerous, Alex warned, his voice grave. Robert isn't alone in this. There are more powerful people involved. My father risked everything for the truth, Lily responded with fierce determination, her eyes burning with resolve. I won't let his sacrifice be in vain. What neither of them knew was that, at that very moment, Robert Sterling was making a phone call that would change the course of events, accelerating their desperate race against time. Take care of box 247, he growled into the phone, his voice laced with venom. And this time, leave no loose ends. Part 7. The walls close in. What happens when you dare to challenge a powerful, hidden network of corruption, and the walls begin to close in, threatening to crush everything you hold dear. The following days were a living nightmare for Alex. Board members, longtime allies of his late father, began to avoid him in the hallways. Important meetings were scheduled without his knowledge, and rumors about his emotional instability began to circulate through the company like a virus. They've frozen the operating accounts. Sarah, his trusted assistant, informed him one morning, her voice tight with concern as she handed him financial reports. Robert called an emergency board meeting. They're questioning your capacity to lead the company. Alex loosened his tie, feeling the air constrict in his lungs. Who's with him? Almost everyone, Sarah replied, showing him a list of names. Only Marcus and I are still on your side. Meanwhile, Lily faced her own growing dilemmas at the hospital. A fellow nurse had overheard her talking to Alex on the phone, and now rumors were spreading like wildfire. "Is it true you're dating Sterling?" Maria asked during lunch, her tone laced with malice. "They say he's losing control of his company, just like all rich people." "It's not what you think," Lily responded, avoiding giving details. But it was increasingly difficult to maintain her composure when she heard Alex's name on the news, linked to scandal. That night, while reviewing patient files in her small apartment, Lily received an anonymous call. "If you know what's good for you, stay away from the Sterlings," a distorted voice growled. "Your father was lucky he only had to disappear." With trembling hands, Lily called Alex. "They're trying to scare us," he said when she told him about the call. "Robert knows we're close to the truth." "But what's the price?" she asked, looking at the old photo of her father. "Is it worth risking everything? If we don't fight now, people like my uncle will continue to wield power unchecked." Alex responded, his voice filled with a quiet, fierce resolve. "I can't live with that." A heavy silence settled between them, charged with unspoken tension. Both knew they were at a point of no return. Enemies surrounded them, and every false step could prove fatal. "I'm going to the bank tomorrow," Lily finally decided, her voice firm. "We need to know what's in that safety deposit box." "It's too dangerous," Alex protested, his voice laced with urgency. "Let Marcus handle it." "He's my father," Lily responded, her voice unwavering. "I need to do this." As they hung up, neither of them could shake the chilling sensation that the walls were closing in around them. In his opulent office, Alex stared out at the glittering city lights, wondering how many of those towering buildings had been built with dirty money. And in her small apartment, Lily hugged her father's faded photograph, praying for the same courage he had shown 15 years ago. What happens when a meticulously crafted lie explodes, threatening to consume everything you hold dear, and the truth you desperately seek emerges from the ashes of betrayal? The bombshell exploded on a Tuesday morning. The country's leading newspapers screamed headlines that rocked the American business world. Alex Sterling, the corrupt heir? Documents allege fund embezzlement under his leadership. Alex learned about it from Sarah, his trusted assistant, who burst into his office, newspapers clutched in her trembling hands. The published documents seemed to prove he had been siphoning company funds for years. Everything was meticulously fabricated, a web of deceit woven with cold precision. "Robert leaked this?" Alex muttered, slamming his fist on the desk in frustration. "But I don't understand how he got my signature on these documents." "Sir," Marcus, his head of security, interrupted, rushing in. "The police are in the lobby. They have a search warrant." At the hospital, Lily watched the news with a heavy heart. The images flashed across the screen. Alex leaving his company building, surrounded by a swarm of aggressive journalists and flashing cameras. "Your boyfriend's a thief," a malicious colleague, Brenda, commented, her voice dripping with venom. "Just like all rich people." Lily clenched her fists, holding back a surge of rage. She knew the truth, but she couldn't defend him without exposing herself, putting both their lives in greater danger. That afternoon, as the police meticulously searched Sterling Industries' offices, Lily received a message from an unknown number. It was an old photograph, her father, smiling broadly, standing next to a young Alex, at what looked like a company party. "Why did you never tell me you knew him?" she texted Alex, her fingers trembling. The reply came hours later, a raw, honest admission. "I didn't remember until I saw this photo. I was very young then, barely an intern. Your father was always kind to me." Meanwhile, in his sprawling mansion in the exclusive hills of Los Angeles, Robert Sterling celebrated his anticipated victory with other senior board members. "Alex is finished," he declared, raising his crystal glass, a triumphant, cruel smile on his face. "The company will return to more experienced hands." But he hadn't accounted for the ace Alex had up his sleeve. For months, Alex had been quietly compiling information, preparing for this very moment. "The signatures are forged," he explained to Lily when they finally met in a discreet coffee shop, his voice grim but resolute. And I can prove it, but I need time. Why should I trust you now? She asked, holding up the old photo. You hid that you knew my father. Because I'm fighting the same demons he faced, Alex responded, his eyes reflecting a fierce, unyielding determination. And because, despite everything, I know you want justice too. Lily watched him in silence, remembering the determined look in her father's eyes in that last photograph before he vanished. The same determination, the same burning fire. I'll help you, she finally said, her voice quiet but firm. But this time, no secrets. As they left the coffee shop, neither of them noticed the shadowy figure observing them from a parked car, nor the urgent message he sent. Robert, we have a problem. Your nephew is talking to Carter's daughter, and the safety deposit box has been opened. The race against time had officially begun. What happens when the truth you fight for ignites a desperate manhunt, and the line between justice and survival blurs in a high-stakes pursuit? The following days were a living nightmare for Alex. Board members, former allies of his late father, began to overtly avoid him in the hallways. Important meetings were suspiciously scheduled without his knowledge, and venomous rumors about his emotional instability began to circulate through the company like a rapidly spreading contagion. They've frozen the operating accounts. Sarah, his trusted assistant, informed him one morning, her voice tight with barely suppressed panic as she showed him urgent financial reports. Robert convened an emergency board meeting. They're openly questioning your capacity to lead the company. Alex loosened his tie, feeling the air constrict in his lungs, suffocating him. Who's with him? Almost everyone, Sarah replied, showing him a list of names that made his stomach churn. Only Marcus and I are still on your side. Meanwhile, Lily faced her own escalating dilemmas at the hospital. A fellow nurse had explicitly overheard her talking to Alex on the phone, and now the whispers, the rumors were spreading like wildfire. Is it true you're dating Sterling? Brenda asked during lunch, her tone laced with pure malice. They say he's losing control of his company, just like all rich people. It's not what you think, Lily responded, her voice strained, avoiding giving any further details. But it was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain her composure when she heard Alex's name constantly on the news, linked to scandal and corruption. That night, while reviewing patient files in her small apartment, Lily received a chilling anonymous call. If you know what's good for you, stay away from the Sterlings. A distorted voice growled, a clear, unmistakable threat. Your father was lucky he only had to disappear. With trembling hands, Lily immediately called Alex. They're trying to scare us, he said when she told him about the ominous call. Robert knows we're close to the truth. Too close. But what's the price? She asked, looking at the old, faded photo of her father, her voice barely a whisper. Is it worth risking everything? If we don't fight now, people like my uncle will continue to wield power unchecked, continue to destroy lives. Alex responded, his voice filled with a quiet, fierce resolve. I can't live with that. Not anymore. A heavy silence settled between them, charged with unspoken fear and undeniable tension. Both knew they were at a point of no return. Enemies, powerful and unseen, surrounded them, and every single false step could prove irrevocably fatal. I'm going to the bank tomorrow, Lily finally decided, her voice firm, resolute. We need to know what's in that safety deposit box. It's too dangerous, Alex protested, his voice laced with desperate urgency. Let Marcus handle it. He's trained for this. He's my father, Lily responded, her voice unwavering, a steely determination in her eyes. I need to do this. For him. As they hung up, neither of them could shake the chilling sensation that the walls were rapidly closing in around them, squeezing them tighter with each passing minute. In his opulent office, Alex stared out at the glittering city lights, wondering how many of those towering buildings had been constructed with dirty, blood-stained money. And in her small, humble apartment, Lily hugged her father's faded photograph close, praying for the same unwavering courage he had shown 15 years ago, praying for the strength to face the unknown. Part 10. The Explosion and the Long-Lost Father. What happens when a desperate gamble pays off? Unearthing a devastating truth, and a family torn apart by betrayal finally finds a glimmer of hope for reunion. The bombshell exploded on a Tuesday morning, not with a quiet whimper, but with a deafening roar. The nation's leading newspapers opened with a scandal that violently shook the very foundations of the American business world. Alex Sterling, the corrupt heir? Documents reveal massive fund malversation under his management. Alex learned about it from Sarah, who burst into his office, a stack of newspapers clutched in her trembling hands, her face ashen. The published documents, seemingly authentic, appeared to demonstrate that he had been siphoning company funds for years. Everything was a meticulously fabricated lie, a web of deceit woven with chilling precision by Robert. Robert leaked this? Alex muttered, slamming his fist on his desk in a surge of frustrated fury. But I don't understand how he got my actual signature on these documents. It makes no sense. Sir, Marcus interrupted, rushing in, his face grim. The police are in the lobby. They have a search warrant for the entire building. At the hospital, Lily watched the news with a heart that felt shriveled and cold. The images flashed across the screen. Alex leaving the company building, surrounded by a rabid pack of journalists and blinding camera flashes. Your boyfriend's a thief. A malicious colleague, Brenda, sneered, her voice dripping with venom. Just like all rich people, they're all the same. Lily clenched her fists, fighting back a wave of incandescent rage. She knew the truth. She knew Alex was innocent. But she couldn't defend him publicly without exposing herself, without jeopardizing their entire desperate plan. That afternoon, as the police methodically searched Sterling Industries' offices, turning everything upside down, Lily received a message from an unknown number. It was an old photograph. Her father, younger, smiling, standing next to a very young Alex, at what appeared to be a company party. Why did you never tell me you knew him? She texted Alex, her fingers trembling uncontrollably. The reply came hours later, a raw, honest admission. I honestly didn't remember him until I saw this photo. I was very young, barely an intern then. Your father was always incredibly kind to me. Meanwhile, in his sprawling mansion in the exclusive hills of Los Angeles, Robert Sterling celebrated his anticipated, utterly ruthless victory with other powerful, corrupt members of the board. Alex is finished, he declared, raising his crystal glass, a triumphant, cruel smile twisting his lips. The company will return to more experienced hands. Our hands. But he hadn't accounted for the ace Alex had strategically kept hidden. For months, Alex had been tirelessly compiling information, meticulously preparing for this very moment, for Robert's inevitable move. The signatures are forged, he explained to Lily when they finally reunited in a discreet, anonymous coffee shop. And I can prove it, but I need time, Lily. Precious time. Why should I trust you now? She asked, her voice tinged with old hurt, showing him the photo of her father and a young Alex. You hid that you knew my father, because I'm fighting against the very same demons he faced. Alex responded, his eyes reflecting a fierce, unyielding determination, a raw honesty. And because, despite everything, I know you want justice too. True justice. Lily watched him in silence, remembering the unwavering gaze in her father's eyes in that last photo before he disappeared. The same fierce determination, the same burning fire. I'll help you, she finally said, her voice quiet but firm. But this time, absolutely no secrets. We're all in. As they left the coffee shop, a chilling report reached Robert. Safety deposit box 247 at National Bank had been accessed that very morning. The race against time had officially, terrifyingly, begun. Safety deposit box 247 contained exactly what David Carter had promised. A single USB drive and a yellowed envelope filled with damning documents. Lily examined them with trembling hands in the bank's small, private cubicle. These are all the records of the illegal transactions, she whispered, flipping through the pages. her eyes widening in horror and disbelief. My father documented everything, but there was something else. A handwritten letter, addressed to her. My dearest Lily, the letter began. If you are reading this, it means someone is finally searching for the truth. They didn't kill me. They gave me a choice. Disappear or watch my family suffer the brutal consequences. I chose to protect you. The paper trembled in Lily's hands as she turned the page, desperately hoping to find an address, a location. But it wasn't there. I cannot tell you where I am. Too many powerful people are still looking for me. But if it is truly you who seeks me, you will find the answer in the place where everything began. Tears blurred her vision, hot and overwhelming. Her father was alive. All this time he had been alive. Alex arrived at the bank minutes later, finding Lily still reeling, overwhelmed by the earth-shattering discovery. We need to get him somewhere safe, she said. Her voice choked with emotion, showing him the letter. If Robert discovers he's in Miami, my men can get there first, Alex responded, already dialing Marcus's number. But we have to act fast. Immediately. Meanwhile, back at Sterling Industries offices, Robert received the news he had been dreading. The box had been opened, and its damning contents retrieved. Find Carter, he roared into the phone, his voice a guttural growl. He can't be far. No loose ends this time. But it was too late. Alex's security team was already en route to Miami, following the cryptic clues left in the letter. The address led to a small, unassuming bookstore in the city's historic district. Is Manuel Rodriguez here? One of the guards asked, stepping inside. The man behind the counter looked up from his book. His hair was completely white now, and deep wrinkles etched his face, a testament to years of hiding. But his eyes were the same eyes from the photo Lily had cherished for 15 years. My daughter, David Carter, now known as Manuel Rodriguez, began, his voice breaking with emotion. Is she all right? She's on her way, the guard replied, his voice firm. But we need to get you out of here now. Immediately. As the security team swiftly evacuated David, Alex presented the documents found in the safety deposit box to the authorities. The evidence was irrefutable. Years of systemic fraud, money laundering, and threats, all orchestrated and directed by Robert Sterling. Your father was right, Alex told Lily over the phone, his voice filled with a quiet triumph. The documents are the key. Robert won't escape this time. At that very moment, Lily was traveling toward Miami, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and overwhelming hope. After 15 agonizing years, she would finally see her father again. What happens when a family, shattered by betrayal, is finally reunited, and a son fights to dismantle the very empire his corrupt uncle built on lies and stolen lives? The reunion between Lily and her father had to wait. Robert Sterling had called an emergency board meeting for the following morning, with a single, urgent item on the agenda: the immediate removal of Alex as CEO. You can't let them win, Lily urged Alex over the phone, her voice desperate, as the helicopter carrying her father to a secure location lifted off from Miami. My father kept those proofs for a reason. Alex adjusted his tie in front of his office mirror, his jaw set with grim determination. I know, and I'm going to finish what he started. The boardroom was packed when Alex entered. Robert occupied the head of the long mahogany table, surrounded by the oldest, most entrenched members of the board. All of them avoided Alex's gaze, their faces carefully neutral. Nephew, Robert began, his voice dripping with a cold, condescending smile. In light of the recent scandals, the board believes that, before we continue, Alex interrupted, his voice cutting through the tense silence, I'd like to present some documents. He projected the records found in the safety deposit box onto the large screen. Millions in illicit transfers, damning bribes, chilling threats, all meticulously detailed by David Carter. This is a forgery, Robert protested, though his voice lacked its usual unshakable conviction. The district attorney's office doesn't think so, Alex retorted, his gaze unwavering. But of course, that doesn't worry you. Because you still have judges and politicians in your pocket, don't you? Alex let out a dry, mirthless laugh. Boy, you still don't understand how this game works. You can have proof, but I guarantee those proofs will disappear before they ever reach a court of law. The silence that followed was deafening, suffocating. The board members exchanged nervous glances, acutely aware that many of their own names appeared in those incriminating records. Do you truly want to continue protecting a criminal? Alex demanded, his voice ringing with newfound authority, looking at each of them in turn. Or do you prefer to stand on the right side of history? Robert sprang to his feet, his face contorted with fury. I will not allow an idealistic brat to destroy everything we built. What you built? Alex's voice rose, filled with a righteous anger. You built it on lies and blood. You destroyed lives, like David Carter's. The mention of that name caused a ripple of murmurs among those present. Many remembered the missing accountant, the unsettling rumors. Gentlemen, Alex continued, his voice now calm, resolute, you have two options. Support the complete cleansing of this company, or face the legal consequences alongside my uncle. One by one, the board members, their faces pale with dawning fear, began to change their votes. Robert watched, impotent, as his corrupt empire crumbled before his eyes. This isn't over, he threatened, storming towards the door, his voice hoarse with rage. You're wrong, uncle, Alex replied, his voice clear and unwavering. It just ended. Outside, the first rays of dawn illuminated the sprawling city. Somewhere safe, David Carter was embracing his daughter after 15 agonizing years. And back in the offices of Sterling Industries, a new era, built on truth and integrity, had just begun. What happens when fleeting victory unveils a deeper conspiracy, forcing a family to retreat into the shadows, and a love born of crisis is tested by an ever-present danger? The secure house on the outskirts of Miami was modest but fortified. Lily watched her father sleep on the sofa, still unable to fully believe he was truly back. David Carter had aged prematurely. His completely white hair and deep wrinkles were stark witnesses to the years spent in exile. I never stopped thinking about you, he had whispered through tears during their reunion. Every birthday, every Christmas. A message from Alex interrupted her thoughts. Robert vanished. The feds are looking for him. Your father is safe. Lily looked out the window where two security guards patrolled the perimeter. Yes, Marcus's men are here. What happened at the board meeting? I have complete control now. The board is cooperating fully with the investigation. David stirred, disoriented for a moment before recognizing where he was. Alex? He asked, pointing to his daughter's phone. Yes, she replied. We won, Dad. The company is clean now. David shook his head slowly. It's not that simple, honey. Robert has contacts everywhere. Powerful people who don't want the truth to come out. As if confirming his words, Marcus burst into the room. Miss Carter, we've detected suspicious movement on the perimeter. We have to move you. Where to? Lily asked, helping her father to his feet. Alex has a place prepared. A hacienda in the countryside. No one knows about it. As they packed their few belongings, Lily noticed her father carefully putting away a worn notebook. What's that? The real reason Robert wanted to silence me, David replied, his voice grave. It's not just the construction company's records. There's something much bigger. A network involving politicians, judges. The screech of tires outside interrupted their conversation. Marcus pushed them towards the back door as the first gunshots rang out. To the car, quickly, one of the guards shouted. As the armored vehicle sped away, Lily held her father's hand tightly. She had regained her family, but the danger was far from over. Back in his office, Alex received news of the attack. They're safe, Marcus reported over the phone. But this confirms Robert still has resources. He's not alone. Alex looked at the city through his panoramic window, acutely aware that the real battle had only just begun. Keep them safe, he ordered. I'm on my way. The hacienda in the countryside was a remnant of old aristocracy, surrounded by high walls and lush gardens. David Carter watched the mountains from the terrace, breathing the clean air for the first time in years, free from the constant fear that had shadowed his exile. "The doctor's on his way," Lily announced, stepping onto the terrace. Years of stress and precarity had taken their toll on her father's heart. "Alex insisted he check on you." David smiled faintly. "The young man has changed. I remember him in the offices. So young, so different from his family. Why did you never tell me you knew him?" "Because back then he was just an intern, oblivious to everything that was happening. When I discovered the corruption, I decided not to involve him. His uncle, Robert, was capable of anything, even against his own blood." The sound of a helicopter interrupted their conversation. Alex landed in the back garden, carrying a briefcase full of documents. "Mr. Carter," he greeted, visibly nervous, a deferential tone in his voice. "I've been reviewing everything you documented. It's even worse than we imagined." David nodded gravely. The construction company was just the tip of the iceberg. Robert built an empire based on bribery, money laundering, and extortion. Politicians, judges, businessmen, they're all involved. "That's why he hasn't been caught yet," Lily interjected. "He has too many powerful people protecting him." Alex spread the documents on the terrace table. "But now we have proof. With your testimony, Mr. Carter, we can dismantle the entire network." David coughed violently, causing Lily to worry. "Dad, you need to rest." "No time to rest," he replied, regaining his breath. "I've kept these secrets for 15 years. It's time for the truth to come out." "But not today," Lily insisted, helping him up. "First, you need to recover your health." Alex watched their interaction with a mix of admiration and guilt. This family had been torn apart by the ambition of his own blood. "I promise you this will not go unpunished," he said, gathering the documents. "The company will be completely cleaned up." David paused at the terrace door. "Be careful, young man. Robert isn't the only enemy. There are very powerful people who will do anything to keep their secrets buried." As father and daughter retreated inside the house, Alex remained on the terrace, contemplating the sunset. The battle for the truth had only just begun, and the price might be higher than he imagined. What happens when a new leader dares to dismantle decades of corruption, facing down powerful enemies to rebuild an empire on the bedrock of truth and transparency? Alex's return to the central offices of Sterling Industries marked the dawn of a new era. Employees watched him with a mix of apprehension and hope as he walked through the gleaming hallways, followed by a team of external auditors. "I want every document, every transaction, every contract reviewed," he commanded at the first general meeting, his voice firm, unwavering. "From today forward, this company operates with total transparency." There was a tense silence before one of the oldest directors, a man with a perpetually cynical smile, spoke. "That's easy to say, Mr. Sterling," he drawled. "But when our government contracts start to disappear, will you also shoulder those losses?" Alex crossed his arms, his gaze piercing. "I'd rather lose money than continue to sell our integrity." The cleansing process was brutal. Executives who had worked decades at the company were swiftly dismissed as their participation in the illegal activities came to light. Fraudulent contracts were canceled, resulting in millions of dollars in necessary, albeit painful, losses. Shares have fallen 30%. Sarah, his trusted assistant, reported, showing him financial reports. "Investors are nervous." "Let them be nervous," Alex responded, his voice resolute. "I prefer a smaller, but clean company." In a historic press conference, Alex publicly revealed the years of corruption under his uncle's rule. With David Carter connected via secure video conference from his safe location, the truth finally came roaring into the light. "My uncle, Robert Sterling, not only defrauded this company," Alex declared before dozens of stunned journalists. "He built a criminal empire that threatened and destroyed innocent lives. Today, we announced the creation of a compensation fund for all victims affected by these illicit activities. The revelations sent shockwaves through the American business world. Several executives from other construction firms abruptly resigned. Prominent judges began taking indefinite leaves of absence. Politicians canceled public appearances. "They're scared," Lily commented that night, as they dined at the hacienda. "They know my father has proof against all of them." David, slowly recovering under careful medical supervision, nodded. Robert was the center of a vast web of corruption. When he falls, they all fall. "If we find him," Alex added, his voice grim, "every day that passes, the circle closes tighter around him." The answer arrived that very night. An anonymous envelope was delivered to the company's reception. Inside, a single photograph. Robert Sterling, gaunt but smiling, holding a recent newspaper. On the back, a chilling message: "You can't stop what we built. This is bigger than all of us." Alex shared the photo with Lily via secure message. "He's not just threatening us," he wrote. "He's boasting. He thinks his network of contacts is too powerful to fall." "He's wrong," she responded. "He doesn't have the power he used to. It's only a matter of time." In his office, Alex gazed out at the illuminated city. The company his father had left him was transforming into something new, something better. The cost had been high, but truth was finally triumphing over decades of lies and corruption. What happens when the fight for justice brings unexpected peace, and a love born in chaos finds its sanctuary, proving that true happiness can rise from the ashes of betrayal? David Carter's recovery progressed slowly at the hacienda in the countryside. Doctors had diagnosed that years of stress and precarity had weakened his heart, but with proper treatment and the tranquility of the secluded location, he was beginning to show signs of improvement. Lily divided her time between caring for her father and her work at the hospital, where she had partially returned. Her afternoons were spent at the hacienda, listening to her father's stories of the lost years, slowly piecing together the puzzle of their separation. "Every day I thought about coming back," David confessed one afternoon, his voice soft. "But the fear of them harming you was stronger than my desire to see you." Alex visited the hacienda regularly, bringing updates on the company's transformation and the progress in the search for Robert. During these visits, Lily noticed how his presence had become more than just a simple alliance against corruption. One evening, as they shared a quiet dinner on the terrace, David observed the way his daughter and Alex interacted. The furtive glances, the discreet smiles. "You know," David said suddenly, breaking the comfortable silence, "your mother and I met under equally complicated circumstances." Lily blushed as Alex suddenly paid intense attention to his plate. "Love blossoms in the most unexpected places," David continued, his voice gentle. "And sometimes, we need to go through the storm to find peace." "Dad," Lily began, but David raised a hand. "I've watched how Alex has fought to do what's right, at the cost of his own family. He's proven to be different from the Sterlings I knew." Alex looked up, meeting David's eyes. "Mr. Carter, You don't need to explain anything," David interrupted with a weary smile. "Just promise me you'll protect her better than I could." That night, in the hacienda garden, Alex and Lily finally let down the barriers they had maintained between them. "I was so afraid to trust," Lily admitted, as they walked beneath the stars. "After everything that happened." "I know," Alex responded, taking her hand. "I was afraid too. Afraid of being like them. Afraid of not being enough." "You're more than enough," she whispered, leaning closer. "You're exactly who we needed you to be." The kiss that followed was soft, tender, charged with promises and hope. Upstairs, on the terrace, David watched the scene with tears in his eyes, grateful that his daughter had found not only love, but also the justice they had both so desperately sought. Part 15. An intimate promise and a wedding day victory. What happens when love finds its unexpected home? Built not on privilege but on shared truth, culminating in a day of promises and a quiet triumph over a lifetime of betrayal. Alex had planned dozens of elaborate ways to propose to Lily, but in the end, the moment arose in the most natural way possible. One ordinary night, as they were having dinner in the kitchen of her apartment, surrounded by legal documents and takeout containers, the scent of Chinese food filling the air. "Marry me," he said suddenly, in the middle of a conversation about the latest developments in the search for Robert. Lily dropped her chopsticks, surprised not so much by the proposal itself, but by how utterly right the moment felt. "Just like that?" she asked, a smile slowly forming on her lips. "Just like that," he confirmed, his eyes warm and sincere. "No ostentatious jewels or expensive restaurants. Just us, being who we truly are." David, who had moved into a small apartment near Lily's once his health improved, received the news with tears of joy. "Your mother would be so proud," he said, embracing his daughter, "of the woman you've become, of the battles you've fought." The wedding was planned as an intimate event, far from the corporate world that had caused so much pain to both families. They chose to celebrate it in the garden of the hacienda, the very place where their true story had begun. The night before the ceremony, Alex received a call. Robert had been located in Argentina. Authorities were already en route to arrest him. "Should we postpone the wedding?" Lily asked when he gave her the news, her voice a mix of apprehension and resolve. "No," Alex replied firmly. "We've given him enough power over our lives. Tomorrow is our day." The ceremony was simple but deeply meaningful. David, stronger and healthier than ever, walked his daughter down the makeshift aisle under a blooming jacaranda tree. Sarah, Marcus, and the few true friends who had remained by their side during the crisis were the only witnesses. "I promise to love and protect you," Alex said in his vows, his voice clear and resonant. "Not from a place of power or privilege, but from the truth and justice we build together." "I promise to stand by your side," Lily responded, her eyes shining with love, "in the fight for what's right and in building a better future." As they exchanged rings, the news arrived. Robert Sterling had been arrested. The empire of corruption he had built was finally crumbling. But for Alex and Lily, that news was secondary. Their most important victory wasn't Robert's downfall, but the love that had blossomed amidst the ruins of lies. A love built on a foundation of healed scars and unbreakable promises. David watched the couple share their first dance as husband and wife, his heart filled with peace for the first time in 15 years. Justice had arrived. But more importantly, love had triumphed over fear. What happens when a lifetime of striving for external success culminates in the quiet, profound joy of building a life rooted in love, purpose, and a shared future? 6 months after the wedding, life had found a new rhythm. Sterling Industries, under Alex's steadfast leadership, had transformed into a model of corporate transparency. Construction projects now proudly included social and environmental programs, changing not only the company's image but also its profound impact on the community. Lily continued her work at the hospital, gracefully declining lucrative offers to join the family business. "My calling is to help people directly," she would explain when asked. However, she had established a foundation with part of the compensation the company had paid to her family, dedicated to assisting victims of corporate corruption. David, almost fully recovered, divided his time between helping at his daughter's foundation and writing his memoirs. His book, 15 Years of Silence, would become a crucial testimony for understanding and combating systemic corruption. Robert Sterling was sentenced to 30 years in prison. His vast network of corruption crumbled, dragging down dozens of corrupt businessmen, politicians, and judges. It was the definitive end of an era of impunity. One Sunday afternoon, Alex and Lily walked through the very same streets where they had first met. The alley where it all began had been transformed into a small, vibrant park, part of the new Sterling Construction's urban renewal projects. "Did you ever imagine we'd end up like this?" Lily asked, as they watched children playing on the swings, their laughter echoing. "Never," Alex smiled, squeezing her hand. "But now, I can't imagine my life any other way." David waited for them at home for Sunday dinner, a cherished tradition they had established since his recovery. Conversations no longer revolved around conspiracies and threats, but around plans for the future, recovered hopes, and shared dreams. Life isn't a fairy tale, David would often say, his voice gentle with wisdom. But sometimes, if we fight hard enough for what's right, it grants us happy endings. Alex and Lily knew he was right. Their love had been born amidst a storm. It had been strengthened in adversity, and it had blossomed in truth. It wasn't a love from a romantic novel, but something far deeper and more real. A love built on healed scars and promises kept. As the sun set over New York City, the couple walked home hand in hand. The shadows of the past had finally vanished, leaving in their place the radiant light of a future that, though not perfect, was authentically, beautifully, irrevocably theirs. The city that had witnessed their tumultuous story continued its relentless rhythm. But now, somewhere within its bustling streets, there existed a love story that proved justice, truth, and love could ultimately triumph over greed and corruption. A story that, like so many others in this great city, had begun in darkness, but had found its way, against all odds, into the light. Has this gripping story of love, justice, and redemption, set in the heart of New York City, captivated you? If the escalating tension between Lily and Alex kept you on the edge of your seat, and David Carter's fight for truth moved you deeply, don't hesitate to share this video with your friends and family. Give us a like to help more people discover this powerful narrative that blends romance with crucial societal themes. If you want more stories that make you reflect on the power of love in the face of adversity, subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments. Where in the world are you experiencing this passionate story from? We'd love to know how this narrative resonates in different parts of the globe.